hope everyone had a great Christmas. Today I'm going to show y'all my top 10 Dollar Tree wall sconces. I hope y'all enjoy, stay safe, and Happy New Year.
I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
I am using two Dollar Tree Easter signs. First, I'm going to remove the sticker tags and the hardware right there in the back on both pieces. That way I can paint them. I'm going to use some apple barrel white paint in matte, and I'm just going to give it one good coat. And I'm going to go over it with some of this hazelnut Waverly chalk paint, and hopefully I don't spill it. So I'm going to stir it really good, or shake it, and go over it. Now, I did start to use the same brush that I was using to paint the white on, but it doesn't go on as like rustic, I guess. It's better to use like a real stiff bristled brush, which I will change in a second. I just start off by using this, and of course you don't have to do this part. You can paint it whatever color you want. I just wanted to give it somewhat of a rustic, like country type look. So you see now I changed the brush, and I did add more white paint to the side because I needed to go over it a little, because the other brush just made it look, I don't know, it looks weird. So I'm going over it with this type of brush now. And these type of brushes, I mean, of course you can find them anywhere, but I had found this 3-pack from Walmart, different sizes for a couple dollars. Now that I have both of them painted the way I want, I'm going to use this Dollar Tree burlap ribbon. I'm going to cut 2 pieces off for each frame. And for this part, you can use any type of fabric you want.
I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna be someone else. I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna be someone else. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna skip my breaks, I'm gonna make mistakes. Try not to hold me down, feel alive when I'm in this town.
I'm going to hot glue the burlap down now, and I'm just going to use the glue on the back of the signs. And I'm also going to use, I think I grabbed another brush or craft stick and just go over it because I don't want to burn my fingers.
Nothing can break me, no, nothing can break me.
And you see those 2 holes where I removed that hardware? I purposely turned the sign upside down to cover it with the burlap. That way it won't show. I have both burlap pieces glued on there. Now I have some thumbtacks from Dollar Tree. As you can see, they're gold. First, what I was going to do was actually push them onto the sides right here of the frame. But as I started to do that, it's just too hard to push through, and I really felt like I was going to just stab myself. I didn't think it was going to go in all the way, which it didn't, and then I would end up stabbing myself. So I decided not to do that, but since I already had this planned in my mind of how I wanted it to look, as you can see, I'm just barely pushing them in just to see how many I need, which I used 11 on each frame. So once I figure that out, I remove them. I have this little piece of cardboard I'm going to stick them into, and then I'm going to paint them white. So I'm just going to use my white apple barrel paint, but it would be perfect to use spray paint. So sometimes I do get comments about my nails. You guys, these specific nails I have on right now, it only cost me like $5 or $6 to do. So I have been doing them lately myself. I'm not gonna lie, of course, there are times I still like going to the nail salon, but I've been doing them myself, and they usually do last about 2 weeks. There's a lot of things I like to try myself, for example, like my nails, to see if it is worth it, if it comes out cheaper, if it lasts a long time. So a while back, I remember doing my nails myself and they didn't last. But this time I figured something out where they do last. And I love saving money. Guys, I'm sure y'all know how that feels. I'm such a frugal person, so whenever I figured out how to do my nails myself and they were lasting the same time or the same amount of time that they last from the nail salon, except I'm paying at the nail salon like 40, 50 bucks for my nails. And these are only, I'm only paying like $5 or $6. I get so happy and excited, you know, to save money. So as you can see, the thumbtacks are dry. And what I'm gonna do is take my stem cutters and just cut off the needle part of it. And then I'm just gonna, it popped away. I'm just gonna hot glue them on. So another idea would be to use the pink little, what, like half beads, I guess you can call them. These are from Dollar Tree, so they will glue on flat. So you could easily spray paint these outside and then bring them in and hot glue them on as well. So that's another idea you can do. So let me tell you the few tips that I have if you want to do your nails yourself. What I do is just go to Walmart, grab a pack of nails that I like. Now, I get the ones that do not have the adhesive on them. They come with the glue. Those are just the nails that I'm using. Maybe that helps for them to last. So I grab those. I file my nails myself with the little filer that it comes with. And then I use the Kiss glue. I'm not sure if that, I mean, maybe it does matter. I've never used a different type of glue. I always use the Kiss brand glue. And my nails last, guys. So those are the few tips that I have if you want to do your nails yourself. Lastly, I'm adding these Dollar Tree flowers to them. So I believe I picked these up last year and this is the name of them. They kind of remind me of tulips, so I really like the way these look. So I'm just going to remove everything, including the little round oval sign where it says welcome to our home. It's just made out of cardboard. So I'm going to remove that. So I'm also going to be using this Dollar Tree chopping mat. I'm going to use the chopping mat to basically create like a little pocket on top of the window arch. So I'm just checking to see about how much I want to cover, and then I'll measure it and tell you exactly how many inches I cut off. So it's about 5 inches. I'm gonna cut that off, and I need 2 of them since I have 2 of the arches.
Drive a faster car, lay my troubles to rest, blow the smoke through my cigarette, city lights looking fine, and I know.
So now I'm going to take them outside and spray paint them with my white flat spray paint. Now I'm going to place it right here on the end. I'm going to wrap it toward the front and around to the side, and I'm just going to see, this is about how much I need. So I'm going to mark that real quick with my pencil, and then I'll show y'all about how much that measures out to. It's about 8.5 inches, so I'm going to mark it there and now cut that piece off. To glue this on, I'm going to use some E6000 and my hot glue. So As you can see, this is the last time I can probably use this E6000. I need to buy another one. So what I'm going to do is just add some of that in the center of the little window arch, and then on the sides I will add, or the top and the bottom, I will add the hot glue. So basically the E6000 is for a long lasting hold, and you know, a lot of us use that for crafts, and then the hot glue of course is for right now because it dries really fast. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, why couldn't you just use a poster board or poster, you know, from the Dollar Tree or wherever? And you can do that too. I just thought it'd be fun to use the cutting mat. So I'm going to take some of this Dollar Tree burlap and I'm going to add a trim to each side. So I'm going to cut off a piece and then we'll add hot glue. So even if you don't want burlap on here, I would still recommend using some type of fabric or ribbon. It's going to also help hold that cutting mat in place. So I'm going to add that strip right there with hot glue, and then the rest of it I will add to the back and just fold it and add more hot glue. Now I'm going to add another piece of burlap at the bottom, and this part you can decide how much you want to cover at the bottom. So I'm going to figure about half of it, and then I will cut off two strips, one for this one and one for the other little window arch. And yeah, I'm just going to do the same thing and add hot glue. For the bottom piece, we're doing about 10.5 inches. Now I need to add a bottom to this, so I'm just taking another piece of burlap at 6.5 inches and I'm going to hot glue it to the bottom. And I'm sure you can tell by now that I use the crab stick so that way I don't get so much glue on my fingers and I don't burn myself. And then the opposite sides where those other two pieces are sticking out, I'm going to add hot glue and just stick that inside of the little pocket. Now I will trim off the edges of this bottom burlap piece that we added earlier, the bottom trim, and then just hot glue the rest of that underneath. Alright, so I just hung them up. Remember, these arches have a little hook on the back of them where you can hang them up with a nail, or you can add command strips like I do. All I did was just add some lavender Dollar Tree florals in there. DIY number 3, I am going to make 4 pallets out of my Dollar Tree crab sticks. To make these mini pallets, I'm going to lay 5 flat just like this, and I am going to cut off the ends of each one. I'm using 7 craft sticks in total for one little pallet, so I'm going to lay one of them horizontally and then glue down the 5 on top of those. And to finish off the palette, I'll hot glue down the last crab stick. So I have all 4 of my palettes done. I used 28 craft sticks. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my hazelnut chalk paint and paint all 4 of them. I'm going to use 2 of these cardboard containers that I found at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to remove the lid and cut the bottom part of the container in half, so that way I can place them on each of the pallets. It was really easy to cut. I was just making sure to try and keep the line as straight as possible and not tear it. Just make sure you have good scissors. So I'm going to hot glue this down like this. First, what I'm going to do is just add hot glue to the bottom and put it onto the pallet. And then to keep it in place, I'm going to add some Dollar Tree wooden dowels. I'm using my stem cutters to cut the dowel. And first I'm adding one to the bottom on the inside of the container. So the dowels are basically just to connect the pallet and the container, and it's just a better hold as well. So I'm going to add hot glue in there and place it in there. Just this one dowel at the bottom would be perfect, because all I'm going to do is add a little bit of greenery and flowers in some of the containers. So it's not like it's going to be heavy at all. There's literally going to be no weight at all in here, but sometimes I like to be a little bit too extra, and I'm also going to add dowels to the inside on the sides as well. So right here I'm just showing you how the dowels look once it's all glued together. Now, I know what you're thinking, why didn't I paint the container? Well, you can totally do that. I was going for a very neutral look for this video, so that's why I didn't paint it. using a piece of foam board. I'm going to make a sign out of this, and I'm also going to be using this cocoa liner from Dollar Tree. And what I'm going to do with this is just cut it in half, and we're going to use it on the piece of foam board. I'm going to use my L ruler to help me cut out a nice rectangular piece. So I'm going to mark it with my pencil, and then we'll use a box cutter to cut it out. The easiest way for me to cut a piece of foam board is by using a box cutter, like I mentioned, and oh, by the way, I am using like a, I don't know, a safety type of box cutter, because once you use it and then you lift up, the blade will go back in, so I have to hold it in place with my thumb. The easiest way to do it is to lightly score it, and then once I do that, then I will go all the way through with the blade, and it comes out looking better. Have y'all ever tried using scissors with foam board, or tried cutting out a piece with scissors? No, it is gonna be bad if you try to do it. I've been using foam board for a while, and yeah, if you use scissors, it'll come out looking crazy. So as you can see, once I do cut through, I do have to kind of use my sanding block just a little bit on the side, very carefully and lightly, because you don't want to mess up the siding of all the foam board. And part of crafting is messing up, and I still mess up a lot, even though I've been crafting for a long time, and then, you know, I've been on YouTube for about 3 years. But the good thing is, if I mess up, then I can tell y'all on here, and then you can not mess up. So I decided to go out of my comfort zone a little and use navy blue. I saw some farmhouse decor signs on Pinterest, and I wanted to give it a try. So what I decided to do was start off by using a sponge brush, which doesn't look like it would be too good of an idea the way it's painting on the foam board. I don't know why I kept going with it, but either way, I do cover up the whole thing with it. And then I decided to add, I was just going to leave it like this with that simple blue color, but I wanted it to look, I don't know, I was going for like a blue grayish color. So then I do end up using a gray on top of it, and you'll see that in a second. And I also switch brushes. So I do end up switching to a bristled brush, which was a little easier to, well, way easier to work with. Not that bad, but trust me, it gets way better once I paint the top of it with that gray. But now what I'm going to do is take my Dollar Tree skewers. If you are lucky enough to find it, pick a pack up, because I love them. They're really, really long. I think last time I measured them, they're about 3 feet long. They're pretty long, and I love using them for signs. So I'm going to use this as the border of my sign. It fits perfectly on the outside of a piece of foam board. The width of the skewer and the foam board are about the same, so it fits perfectly on the side. So what I'm going to do is mix both of these colors up. They're both chalk paint from Waverly. I find them at Walmart. I wasn't trying to do hazelnut because it was a little bit too dark for me. I wanted to go in between these two colors, so I'm going to mix them up, and then I'm going to paint the skewers. Remember to go show some love to Elena Jenkins, my friend I'm doing this collab with. Her video is going to be linked below, so y'all can go over there and show her some love and let her know that I sent you over in the comment section. And also, if you're coming over here from her channel, wow, I'm so appreciative. Thank you so, so much. Hopefully you like my videos enough to subscribe. So I kind of experimented a little bit off camera with my bristled brush and gray paint. I am going to finish that up on the top. So trust me, it's going to look better once it's done. I'm sure you've seen the little thumbnail from by clicking on my video. So you must like it a little bit. But yes, it's going to look better Don't worry. We're all, you know, still trying to figure out how to use this foam board. Definitely way easier to use a bristled brush. So do that first instead of the sponge brush. Now I'm going to take my skewer once that's finished painting, place it on the side. I'm going to mark it with my pencil, and then we're going to cut it with my stem cutters, and then I can glue the skewer right there on the side. To attach the cocoa liner to the sign, I am going to place it where I think I want it to go, and then I'll get my ruler out, and I'm gonna mark 2 dots on each side of the cocoa liner, and I'm gonna poke 2 holes with my pencil, and I'll show you that in a second. And then once I do that, we're gonna add either some twine or whatever you have on hand, a piece of string, anything you want to attach the cocoa liner to the sign. So now I took a piece of the skewer at the end. It has that little pointy end, and it was easily inserted on the side of the cocoa liner just to make a hole. That way I can attach, like I said, whatever you have on hand, piece of twine. I'm using this piece of floral wire, and I'm sorry if you hear that alarm in the background. It's early in the morning and my freshman daughter keeps pushing snooze. Okay, so I'm gonna take this floral wire, put it through the cocoa liner and also through the foam board. So I'm going to attach both sides like that. I didn't twist the back of the floral wire on the left side too tight yet, so I can get the right side done and see how it looks. And then once I like it, then I will go ahead and twist it as many times as you want, the floral wire if you decide to use that. And then once you twist it enough, you can just cut the ends, the excess off. So to secure the bottom of the cocoa liner, what I'm going to do is take some Dollar Tree nautical rope and I'm going to hot glue it to the bottom. So I'll add hot glue to the foam board part of it and also the cocoa liner, so it is glued down and the bottom is secured. Then I'll cut the end of the nautical rope off, and then I'll add some hot glue to the end of that rope, that way it doesn't fray out. And then I added a decal at the bottom that says gather. If you want to use that, that is linked below. And last but not least, I used greenery inside of the cocoa liner. And this greenery is from Walmart. They were $1 each. This sign weighs almost nothing, so it's very easy to hang up. And what I like to use to hang up anything, even things that are heavy, is command strips. Those are perfect not to make holes in your wall, and they work really well. So for the next DIY, I found another DIY to do with the little cathedral decor pieces from Dollar Tree. So what I'm gonna do is add something to the center, because there was like a little sign there and I removed it because I thought I was gonna use this for a different DIY. Now this little sign is from my last video I did. I had those little wood signs, and this little sign came in the center of that. I took it off and I saved it. So I'm going to add that to the middle. And then I'm going to take a recycled Dollar Tree crate that I already had, and I'm going to go ahead and paint it one solid color, because as you can see it's kind of distressed. I would leave it like that. I kind of like the way it looks, but I want it to be a solid color. So just like my first DIY, when I painted the skewers, I mixed the hazelnut and chestnut together. I'm going to do the same thing to give me a real pretty creamy color, and I'm going to add it or paint the whole crate with it. To connect the two together, I'm going to take a Dollar Tree craft stick. I'm going to add hot glue to it, and I'm going to connect these two and add it to the back of it, right on the crease of the cathedral decor piece and the crate. To add more security to this, if you're going to hang it up on the wall, I'm going to take a little wooden dowel, and I painted it the same color as the crate. I'm going to add hot glue, and I'm going to put it in the crease at the front of this where the cathedral and the crate meet, just like I did in the back. I have been having these Dollar Tree cotton stems sitting in my craft closet for a really long time because I haven't really been doing farmhouse DIYs. So I kind of forgot about them, and then I saw them and I was like, okay, this is perfect to go inside of the crate. So I'm just going to remove them, not remove them from the stem, but I'm going to cut off the long stem because they do have really long stems, and I'm going to just set them in there. And you can hang this up if you want. I'm not going to because I decided to keep it sitting on this little shelf that I have, but you totally can. It will stay secured with the hot glue because we added the dowel in the front and the craft stick in the back, and then if you just add flowers inside, it will be totally fine and will not fall. We only need the two of us together. We only need the two of us together. Now, 2 pieces of foam board. I always get my foam board from Dollar Tree or Walmart because it is the cheapest. Sometimes it's even cheaper at Walmart. I always cut it out with my box cutter. I've showed you guys a lot of times how I do it. I kind of just score it at first, then I go all the way through with my box cutter. So these pieces are about 12 by 8 inches. It's also good to sand down the sides a little bit with a sanding block from Dollar Tree because it does have a little bit of rough edges sometimes from where you cut it. I'm going to actually paint the piece of foam board with my antique wax, and you want to use a bristled brush because it looks more like a wood grain on here if you do that. If you use a more like precise brush, it'll make it look solid, and you want it, I mean, if you want the look that I went for, which looks a little more like a piece of wood, then you want to use a bristled brush. So I'm going to go over it, and then I'm going to use a paint on top of it. So the wax is not so dark because as you can see, it is pretty dark. I also add water to my paintbrush so it goes on a little bit lighter. And as soon as I'm done, I don't wait for it to dry. I'm going to use my cashew chalk paint and go over it with the same brush. And the reason for this is I really love the look. Once you see the finish after I go over it with this, it just looks so pretty. Another reason I'm using foam board is because I can cut out the exact size I need for a sign or for like this, since I'm using these as kind of like a sconce. Instead of going to Dollar Tree and trying to find the perfect size sign to use, I can just always use foam board. You probably have seen me do this a lot recently. So these are my two sconces. And what I'm going to do is take some Dollar Tree wooden dowels and frame the foam board so it looks like a sign or a sconce. Now you can do this with dowels. I usually do them with the long wooden skewers from Dollar Tree if I make a really big sign. So it's up to you, but if it's perfectly on the sides, that's why I like doing this. So I'm just gonna add hot glue and put these on the side as is. I'm not gonna paint them. So y'all remember whenever I was in the Creative Champion contest by Heidi Sonbo? That contest is still going on, so don't forget to watch it. It's every Saturday, and I think there are 2 more left. So make sure you go and watch. But I also just want to say thank you so much, whoever voted for me in the first round. I appreciate that so much. Even though I didn't make it to the end, I appreciate y'all so much. The dowels are all glued on, and I really love the way this looks. Can you believe how well paint goes onto this foam board? I mean, it just looks so pretty, and I'm obsessed with that color. Now what we're gonna do is take a Dollar Tree gift box and I'm gonna cut it in half. This is gonna go on to the scones. If you are still watching, thank you. You are freaking awesome. Put a heart emoji in the comments below. I love doing that. I like engaging like that with y'all because it gets the comments going. So put a heart emoji if you're still watching. I'm using the Dollar Tree self-adhesive wall tiles to cover the boxes. So I open the package, I turn the wall tile on the back side. I'm picking up the clear plastic, which reveals the sticky part of the tile. I'm going to place my box on top, and then I'm just going to cut the excess off all around the box. So since I cut around the tile, the sticky part of the tile comes away from the actual design of the tile. So I'm just going to use my hot glue right there. I finished up all the sides, and now what I'm going to do to just complete the look of this little box, I am going to add dowels to just the top area on the side. So I'm just going to basically frame it, and it'll just keep it from looking like it's tile. So an easy way to attach this, I'm just gonna add hot glue all around it and stick it on to the foam board. Now you might see a little hole up there because I was gonna try a different way to attach it, but honestly, all you have to do is use hot glue. I'm only putting flowers inside of this, and I'm gonna show you another way to add more security to this from the inside. So I'm gonna use Jenga pieces from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add 3 inside. So 1 at the bottom and 1 on each side. So that is definitely going to help with security, and this will not fall apart. So I am using command strips to hang these up. That is the best way to hang items up on your wall without making holes. And I added Dollar Tree magnolia flowers in there. I'm using two 6x8 Dollar Tree canvases. Now I'm painting the frames white after removing the canvases from the frame. Now I'm using a Dollar Tree wreath charm and I'm going to paint it black. So I am making a sconce for this last DIY and I'm doing a double frame with the canvases. Otherwise I would have done two, but I realized this wreath charm needs a thicker, I guess, base to glue onto. So that's why I doubled the frames, and you'll see what I mean right now. I'm going to glue both of them on top of each other so I have a thicker base for the wreath charm. Now I'm using the hazelnut on top of the white paint with a bristled brush. And now for the fun part, we're gonna decorate this candle sconce. So this is what I mean when I say I'm going to add the other one on top. But first, before doing that, I'm gonna create a little design with the strips of sun hat. I'm starting off from one corner to the other corner, and I'll go ahead and just let you watch because it's kind of hard to explain, but it's very easy to just see instead. All right, and once I cut off the excess, I am going to add the last two strips this way. And I realized that I needed that bottom part of the frame to add the wreath charm. And so I just removed that little area of the sun hat strips. Remember how I said I needed the frames to be doubled so that bottom part where the wreath charm is gonna sit is thicker, and it's just better to add two frames. So that's why I did that. First, I'm gonna hot glue the frame on, and then we will add the wreath charm. Even though I'm only adding a Dollar Tree candle to the wreath charm on top, I want to add a little extra support with a tumbling tower block. So I'm adding that to the bottom, and then I will paint the bottom black. So I just stuck some Dollar Tree greenery behind the candle. The candle is lightweight, so don't worry about this falling. And again, to hang this up, you just want to use command strips. Dollar Tree tray, and for this planter I'm making a trellis with this. This is really simple. All I did was take some Dollar Tree dowels, and I did not cut these two down that I'm going to use, and I hot glued two of them down on each side of the tray on the back side. And as you can see, I apply a lot of hot glue right there, so I can stick it on top of it, and then I'll hold it in place, make sure it's pretty straight, and I'll do the same on the opposite side.
Baby, it's now or never. Gotta leave this town, and I know what you're asking for.
Once those were dried really well, I cut a piece to fit at the top right here, and I'm just gonna add hot glue and hot glue that part down. Once that was done, I laid it down and I grabbed those really thin skewers that I still have a lot of, and I'm just gonna figure out about how far apart and how many I want, and I'm going at a diagonal, going from left to right first. So now that I have that part done, as you can see, I turned it around on the opposite side to go the opposite way from, what did I say earlier? I think from, I was going left to right, so now I'm going right to left, but I turned around on the back side just so you won't see all of this hot glue on the other side. And so the last thing I did before adding the greenery was use my antique wax all over this, and I used a little bit of water on my brush so it wasn't super dark.
Lost outside of nowhere, a stormy rain tried to wash away the dream. Staff wanted scissors worn outside, and the diner's name is California Dreams.
I added greenery at the bottom of the tray from Dollar Tree. All I did was just remove the greenery from the stems by just pulling it off. So now what I'm going to do is just add 2 of the greenery pieces on each side, kind of going up on the sides, just to make it look a little more full, and it looks prettier like that too. This would also be really pretty if you made another one of these and you can put them on the wall as sconces. I just think that would be super pretty too. I'm doing 2 unique wall pockets by using these tumbling tower blocks. A lot of times I call them Jenga blocks just because that's what I grew up playing, but specifically at Dollar Tree they're called tumbling tower blocks. So for each one I'm going to use 12 pieces. So all I'm going to do is basically make 4 rows of 3. So I'm just showing you the shape of this. You're basically going to make a diamond or a square, and then we're going to glue this all together. In my last video, I mentioned I was going to be doing shout outs to my viewers who leave comments below. I want to shout out Barbara Romans. Thank you so much for watching me, especially during your treatments. I would love to see some of your DIY. So please, if you can, share them with me over on Instagram or email them to me at biancaannd@gmail.com. After I had my 4 rows of 3, now I'm going to go ahead and glue this all together to make a diamond shape. So as of last night, I decided to join TikTok. I actually just posted a, video over there, or TikTok over there. All you have to do is search up biancaannd. I'm trying to be more in the loop. I was a little nervous about it, which I don't know why YouTube I feel like is more nerve-wracking. So I'm going to be posting more DIYs over there, and DIYs I already have on my YouTube channel, maybe some that you have missed, and just different content overall. So go and follow me if you want to see maybe a different side of me. Now I'm going to use this Dollar Tree basket to basically make the pocket over onto my tumbling tower blocks. So I'm going to cut through there and see how much I need to cover that. I'm going to glue it on there and then I will just cut off the excess. So I turned it around on the back so I can see exactly where I need to cut. So you can paint this any colors you choose. I'm using a green moss chalk paint and I did add some white to it to lighten it up a little bit so it wasn't too green. And for the tumbling tower block area, I was going to paint that white and maybe kind of distress it a little, but I decided to leave it just like that, the way it is, because I'm gonna add some Dollar Tree white hydrangeas in there and it really pops against the green and the light brown. These definitely came out way better than expected. Now I just gotta find a place to put them. For the next one, I cut out a smaller piece to create a sconce. You can do two. I just did one just to show you how easy you can make it look like a wooden sconce. So you don't need to do this part. I just did it just to see how it would come out, but I'm gonna create some lines on here just to give it a more of a wooden look. Once I do this and paint it, you won't even be able to see them, but I'm gonna use the back of my blade and just make some lines with it. I'm also gonna use the blade and cut some lines on here too to make it look like a wooden grain. I don't want this to be a perfect rectangular square, so I'm using the end of my blade to kind of mark the top and cut out a little bit of pieces or make little dents just to give it more of that wooden look. And now I'm going to go over it with my antique wax and a little bit of water. And now I'm going to take some black paint and a smaller brush and make some black spots. And you can see I am filling in like the dented areas on the top and bottom and kind of like where I made those lines. This is where it really transitioned into looking like a piece of wood by me just adding a bunch of lines with the back of my brush. And I just pushed kind of hard in some areas and lighter in some other ones. And then I added more black and smeared it with my bigger bristled brush. So to finish up the piece of wood, I'm making little circles with the back of my brush and also making them a little bit different in size. You don't want them all to be the same and just spreading them around. Now I'm going to add this small little jar that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to remove the shells and the little cork at the top. And to add it on here, I picked up some magnets from Walmart. I'm going to stick some on the little jar and then also to the piece of foam board. I forgot to mention that I also drew a couple of lines, one at the bottom and one at the top, just with a little bit of black paint. So you can also most likely get away with just using one little tiny square of the magnet, and I ended up using two. The flowers are not going to knock it down or weigh it down whatsoever. Using some tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. So first I'm going to glue together 3 rows of 8 and then 2 rows of 4. So as you can see, I'm using my Dollar Tree ruler. I have my Surebonder glue gun and glue. You can also use some Gorilla Glue sticks. So I'm using this because it helps make sure the rows of tumbling blocks are straight, and it is a big help. This is such an easy DIY, but it looks so high end. And right here, I am just showing you how easy I'm putting together the 2 rows of 4 blocks. Now that I have those all ready to go, I'm going to glue all of this together so you can see how it looks and how I created the candle sconce. So I'm putting the 2 rows of 4, one at the top and one at the bottom, and the 2 rows of 8 like this, so it's like a long rectangle. And then for the last piece, I will place that in the center on top of the rectangle we just created. Now I will hot glue everything together. I'm just making sure everything is straight with my ruler. And I was actually inspired by a candle sconce just like this from overstock.com, except the ones that I saw were humongous and I believe they were for outdoors. And it almost looks identical to the one I'm making, except theirs was a gold color and it was huge, and mine is a little bit smaller, measuring at 17.5 to about 18 inches.
Look out, here she comes, the woman that I love.
So I went ahead and made 2 of them, except the second one I made doesn't have that centerpiece in the middle. So what I'm going to do is actually stack these on top of each other like this. And the reason for that is because the centerpiece is going to be to hold my mirrors in place and have a real secure and steady background to glue it onto. So I took them outside and gave them a good spray paint with a matte black spray paint. And now what I'm going to do is glue them on top of each other. I purchased this 5-pack of mirrors. I believe they're 4 inches from Michael's, and they were only like not even $2 because they also had a coupon, and that gave me like a few cents off. So it was super cheap for a pack of 5 mirrors. I know they do have some mirrors at Dollar Tree, but I could not find any from my 2 local Dollar Trees. So if you need to, what I did was went online and purchased this pack, and I just went and did a curbside pickup. Now that I have the mirrors glued down, I am sticking some Dollar Tree skewers in between the blocks and underneath the mirrors. So that's another reason why I did it this way and made that centerpiece for the mirrors, so the skewers have a place to stay still. And I will also add hot glue in a second. So Dollar Tree sells this 100-pack of skewers, and I love them because obviously they're only $1 for 100, and I like them because they're very thin, so you can maneuver them the way you want, and you can also use your scissors or whatever to cut them to your liking. So I'm just basically measuring out how I want them to sit underneath the mirrors, and then I will add glue like I mentioned. I also took a handful of blocks outside and spray painted more.
It's too bad she'll never know. Yeah, I can't tell her how I feel, because she has someone who makes her happy. I'm a ghost in these.
And I have some paint to the side right here that I'm going to use to just brush over those skewers. That's just the area where I cut off. So I glued 5 sets of 2 blocks together for this last part on the candle sconce. I am gluing these 2 together, so I have 4 right here. Then I'm moving that out the way and laying 1 set right here and gluing those 4 together on top like this. Lastly, I'm taking the last 2 sets and gluing them right on top of each other.
Cause I hope that I'm not showing how I feel for her, but she won't feel.
And now I will be gluing them all together like this. So this part is actually going to go on the bottom of the rectangular sconce that we made, and it's going to hold the candle up for us. You can see one side has 2 blocks and the other side has 4, and that is because I'm going to glue it underneath like this. The 2 blocks are going to be glued under the sconce, and then the part that has the 4 blocks, I made that to be a little bit thicker or wider, I guess you could say, so that way it has a bigger base to hold the candle. So we're actually going to add another mirror. Since I bought a pack of 5, I can add another mirror up here to hold my candle. So I thought that was going to look absolutely perfect up there. Now I'm going to add hot glue and place my mirror either way like this, or diagonally to where it looks like a diamond like that, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it just like that. And I have this Dollar Tree pillar candle, and it's LED, so you just turn it on at the bottom and it kind of flickers. So I thought that was great that I found it, because I was actually on Amazon looking for some, and I believe I found some like 3 packs for like 20 bucks, you know, something like that. So this was perfect for this, and I'm also just using my level to make sure everything is straight. I only ended up making 1 of these sconces, but just think about how perfect this would be if you made 2 and had one like on each side of your fireplace, or on each side of like a big mirror, or diagonally from each other. It would just look so pretty. And let me know if you are gonna give this a try. Also send me some pictures on Instagram.
How I feel for her, but she won't feel the same.
Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week on January 3rd for a new Valentine's DIY video.
I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now. Picture in my mind, it's just the 2 of us.